Hey everybody, it's Erin Reed, and today we're going to make some mixed media Inchies. Now, this is an inspiration from a set of ATCs I made for a company called Grafix, and this video is actually up on their YouTube channel. So you can find the link up in the corner or at the end, in the iCard or at the end. And it's using the shrink film. And that's where I got the houses and the little words that are on here. But I thought, well, I was using all this fun mixed media stuff, and I was playing around with a whole bunch of Crafters Workshop modeling paste, and I was using some Tattered Angel sprays, and I was using some stencils from the Creative Workshop, and then I was using the Grafix shrink film from the designer series. I thought, well, why this would be really cute for Inchies with some of the small houses, because I used the houses. I used the large ones for this, but there's some small ones left on here that I could use on making some Inchies. And I always do my embellishment swaps. I thought, well, this would be a cute embellishment swap. So Inchies are they're 1 inch pieces, 1 inch by 1 inch. And so I only need to make 10. I'm going to actually probably make about 11 of them. But, you know, I got 10 inches going across here. So that would be 10 if I can get 10 going all the way across, and then I have 4 inches. So if I cover this, even though there's hole punch on here, I can still use it. Now I thought about using the back side and using the white. I was like, no, you know what? Let's go with this front and use that pattern to my advantage. So I've pulled out, and I already have another thing, but I'm going to save this for the end. I pulled out some stencils, and the cool thing is that, and I forget which one, I think it's this one. This stencil is by Art by Marlene, and so is this design of the houses. So she designed both for Grafix and for Crafters Workshops. I think is fantastic. And then Julie Faith Van Balzer, she designed this stencil, which looks like a bunch of numbers, and she also did a designer series of the for Grafix as well. So it's kind of fun, you know, using all the same designers but they work with different companies, but blending them together again. So it was just kind of fun. My little weird way of getting everybody to act together again. All the kids are back in the pool, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I'm using my Prima little spatula here, and I'm going to start off, because this has already got a dark color to it, I'm going to start off actually with a lighter color. Now, one thing I am going to tell you about doing your stencils, do not let them sit too long before you go clean them. Really make sure that you get them in there and get them clean pretty fast. I'm going to use this one from here. And I'm just making a mess here. I really don't have a plan or agenda for this. I'm just throwing the modeling paste down, getting it on there, getting all gooey. You don't even have to hit all of it. I did this same similar technique when I did the ATCs. I had to speed it up though, because they wanted the video to be really quite short. So I'm going to show you similar. I'm not doing the same order because I'm not using a blank ATC background. I'm already using a pattern paper, and we're not making ATCs. We're making Inchies. So look at that. Isn't that cool? Because it already has that background design on it. I just think it's so cool. So what I have is I have a paper towel here that I'm resting my stencils on. You could also, and this is a really good way, just really fast, I'm going to clean this up. This is why I have my messy craft mat down here. But you could, if you wanted to, go ahead and get like a tub of water, and therefore you can throw your stencils in. But I know I'm not going to take too long between each of these stencilings. So now I'm going to get my heat gun. This part I will speed up, but I'm just heating it to the point where it blisters and cracks and bubbles and gets dry. All right, so look at that. All kinds of beautiful bubbles. It's really hard to tell, but I mean, it's got lots of layers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in with my mist. I'm going to do the green, and this is the same thing I did on the ATCs. Come in with the green, and I'm just going to paint sections. If my medium, and the one that I use, just to show you, this is the Platinum Modeling Paste from Crafters Workshop. Stuff is so yummy. If it starts moving around a little bit on this, I'm not worried, but all I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of color. There's lots of layers happening here. So look at that, just kind of painting it on, giving it that watercolor wash look. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a darker color. And this time I'm going to do the numbers, but I'm only going to do them in a couple of sections. So I'm actually going to do this right here, and I'm just going to, just a couple. I'm not going to do the whole thing. They're Inchies, so I'm trying to think of where all, you know, I want every Inchie to have something on it, but I don't want to completely cover this. You know, and I know I didn't clean this off and it might still have a little bit of something on it, and I'm okay with that. All right, so there's that. Pull that off. Lots of cool dimension. It looks like a giant mess on a page. I get that. But it's going to clean up is the best way to describe it. When you cut this up into something smaller, it's going to look kind of cool. I'm hoping that I need to remeasure. Am I going to get enough or do I need to go a little wider? I got to do my, so I've got 5 inches by a little over 4. I should be able to get quite a few out of here. So they're just Inchies. They're 1 inch by 1 inch. It's very easy. All right, heat this up again. All right, and then the last one is I'm going to come back in with this. I'm going to angle this just so that my chevrons are not going all the same way. Now, actually, I did do one other thing. In the other video, I flicked to add some color. It's just layers and layers and layers of color here. That's all this is, layers of color. Put this on a diagonal to get this going the other direction. Take some of the black modeling paste. This stuff is so thick. And again, I got a little bit of silver in there, but you know, I'm not worried. And hit going the other way. I'm going to have to add a brightening factor to this. I'm going to have to come in with one other color because it started off so dark and I've made this very, there's a lot going on here is the bottom line. Pick this up. Look at that. And I really went on there messy. I wasn't trying to make this look super clean. I wasn't trying to make this look pristine in any way. Lots of fun colors happening. Okay, heat this up and dry it. Okay, so I just went and rinsed off my stencil and I'm just testing and it's pretty good. I'm going to lay the original stencil back down here. Again, lots and lots of layers. And this time I'm pulling out a pearl. And I went ahead and, this is pearl white modeling paste. I went ahead and soaked my other stencils because I was walking over to wash this one off. And I cleaned off my palette knife. So I'm going to come in here with this pearl to give it a relief because there's so much dark color happening here. But I'm not hitting everywhere. Now, the darker colors, I didn't mind mixing. The whites, though, I am not going to put this back. It's got too much stuff happening to it. So, again, I'm not coating everything. I'm leaving some relief spaces and pulling it up. And now it's got a sense of something else going on, a lighter color. There's a lot happening on there, though. I can guarantee you that. Do you have to do this as much? No. And from when you're looking at it like this, you're going, holy crap, there's a lot going on. But we're cutting these down, remember. We're not leaving them nice and big. This is not staying like this. When you go smaller, it looks kind of cool. Okay, heat this again. So I'm going to hold this up. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm talking about. Isn't that awesome? It just looks so cool. It just looks like layers and layers of like graffiti or just plastered paint and stuff. Okay, last stage I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little pool of both the green and also, and these are Tattered Angels. This is English Ivy and this is Dragonfly. And I haven't been too concerned about pulling up the mist at the bottom. I definitely could. And I'm just putting a couple of pools and drops just like that. Now I'm going to take my heat gun, and I did this on the ATCs as well. And I'm going to take this and move the color around and swirl it. Now there's definitely some areas that are not going to get that. So I'm going to come in here with the green right here. A little drop there. And let's do another drop of green up here. I want all of them to have at least a little bit of a thread of a color. And because these are small, remember they're Inchies, some sections aren't going to have that color. So we're going to try and force it to have a color. See right there? There's not going to be a color. So we're going to add one in. We're going to come in. It's hitting all the grooves. That didn't drop very well. Yeah. You can also pick up your paper and you can do it this way. There, that'll work. Really get in there. I really want to make sure that all little sections have color. It's really hitting all the grooves of all the layers of stencils and it's following its own path as I'm heating it. Okay, now this is nowhere near dry. I mean, you can see how much color. It feels very warpy. It's got to dry, but when it's set, it'll be awesome. So we're just gonna, I'm gonna put this off to the side now while we work on the houses. So there's two different ways you can do this. The first way is you can cut out the pieces, and I think I'm going to do that. I tend to like that a little better. So I'm just going to come in and cut out my houses. Now, I don't have enough houses for the number of ATCs I'm going to make. So some of the ATC, or not ATC, sorry, Inchies, and I'm just going to leave it like that. Some of the Inchies are not going to have a house. I'm going to do my best. Here's this guy right here. So at this point, all I'm doing, this is this Grafix art film. This is a designer series, and this one's called Homes or Houses? Homes, I think. I don't know. It'll be linked down below. And again, this is from Art by Marlene. They're really cool, and she's done an amazing job with them. And the cool thing about this shrink film stuff is that you do not need to worry about making it super perfect because it's going to shrink down. Now, that might be a bit tall, but we'll see. So the purpose of doing all the small ones is these will shrink down. You're not going to see them to be anywhere near as big. See this house right here? So just as a perspective, that is this house right here. And the top part's been cut off. So it shrinks down to 20%. So if I shrink this down to 20%, it should fit on a little Inchie. And you know what? If it sticks off the Inchie, it sticks off the Inchie. I'm not going to worry about that. All right, I'm going to keep cutting these up. I'm going to see how many I can get total. This is just the remnants of what I had left over when I was cutting out all the big houses, trying to get full houses. That's what I'm going for here. So I'm going to speed this up because it's kind of boring to me, just cutting stuff. So just to show you right here, so this is part of one of the houses, but if I cut right here, like right below this little dotted line here, I think I can make it look like it's a real house, even though I'm cutting off a whole section of it. This was one of the larger houses. I actually have that one. It's this one right here. So all I'm doing is I'm taking off the archway part, but it still looks like a house, and therefore it gives me one more piece. And then I had another idea too. So let me finish cutting this up. All right, so there's that piece. See, that looks like a house. It works. Okay, the next one I had is that I have two of these. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses, right? But notice how there's like a line between them? I'm going to cut this in half. And now I have 2 more houses. Look at that, right? Isn't that awesome? So just by slicing one in half, I've given myself a double amount. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I have 9, 10. Look at that, just by slicing it in half. So cool. I'm just cleaning up this little thing right here that I didn't trim up. Again, not worried about that they're cut perfectly because you're not going to see that. I mean, it's going to get shrunk down and you're going to not have to worry about that. So it definitely looks like it's got the top of a roof, as you can see here, but it's too big. This is way, way too big to fit on an Inchie. I mean, this is what this one looks like. Hang on, let me find it. I use this one too. So this is obviously way too big to be an Inchie, but look how much it shrinks down. So if I trim this in half, and I'm thinking, do I just want to make a house that looks like this? Tempted just to cut it here. You know, miss the bottom of the stairs. Trim off a little bit here. I'm not worried about, well, I guess the width is kind of, it's a little big. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how far I can get with that. And then I've pretty much used up everything that's on here. There's just little remnants that are not really worth it. I can't really pull anything else out of what's left. There's this little birdie house, but I don't know if that's worth it either. I could try it. It's going to be tiny though. Itty bitty teeny weeny is what this thing is going to be, but we'll see. I mean, it's already small. Like that almost would fit on it by itself, but it's going to be tiny. There we go. Put that on there. If this doesn't work out, I can always use the tiny, tiny one. All right, throw this mess away. Okay, so originally what I had done for my colors is I had pulled out these colors, these 4 colors. These are my Style Fine markers. Marked them up, and you can see the colors, and they work really well. And I do want to do that, but then I also have my Nuvo. These are these glitter markers. They're a glitter marker. They're not alcohol based, but I tried a little section on one and they actually worked, and they have the sheen to them. Now, because there is so much color, I mean, look at this. There's so much color here. It's nice to have a little bit of a relief of something white. So I'm not going to overcolor these. I'm just going to come in, like I'm just going to do this window and roughing it. I am not super doing it. So just roughing it in there. Come in, just do this roof right here. Come in, do these 4 windows. As I'm coloring this big bright blue, it's going to get even brighter. This this dark blue is going to get even more. So I don't want to overdo it. Just a couple of smidgens of colors. I can see the glitter showing up already. Change the roof here. So I'm just hitting, I'm not coloring the entire house. I'm just hitting little sections of some spots. Like I'm going to call that one done. Let's add a little something here. And because this is so mixed media, look, I'm going to call that one done. I'm going to call this one done, this one done. Because there's so many little sections of color on there, I'm not going to overdo it. And I'm not worried about this looking perfect either because it's so grungy. If I made it look perfect, it looked weird. Plus, these houses have uneven lines and they're all over the place. Yeah, let's see what happens with that being kind of, you know, I pulled the color off with my finger. See what happens. So I'm going to continue to color these up, adding in these little shimmery. Let's just do the roof here. Let's do this balcony. Change it up. You don't have to do the same thing for each one. Let's add this right here. I think I did that for the same thing. Mix and match the colors. I will say the alcohol markers work fantastic, so don't hesitate. And any alcohol type marker that you have will work phenomenally. So again, I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to see me coloring all this mess. Now, you can definitely use your heat gun to heat them up. And for this little guy, I'm going to show you. But I found for these larger ones, putting them in the oven is so much better. So I found for at least my oven, and every oven's different, that 350 for 2 minutes is perfect. And you just lay them on here, make sure they're not touching. And the reason why I think it works in the oven better for these larger ones is because it's giving you even heat. You're popping in the oven, you're closing the door, all the heat is evenly distributed, and therefore they're shrinking and they're not going to warp and bubble and fold and flip and do weird stuff. When you're using a heat gun, you're only applying the heat to that little section that's coming out of the heat gun. So see how I evenly distributed them? I got to get this last guy in here, but I wanted to add a little more color. I want to add some more of this to the door, a little bit more to here. I thought I would add the green to the roof, really kind of hitting all the colors. See, just really roughing it. I did a much cleaner job on doing the other ones. I'm not too worried about it. I mean, these are Inchies. They're supposed to be small and tiny and just kind of whatever. So make room. Make sure they're not touching. That's the other thing. So I'm making sure that all of these are not touching. I'm waiting for my oven to heat up. But while my oven is heating up, I'm going to show you how to do it for a little guy. So with your heat gun, you can do it if they're small. So I do find that having something to kind of hold it still and then just heating it. So this is what can happen if they get too big, and it did it for this little guy, but I think I can fix it, is it will warp up on itself. Oh, see, it's already cooled off. So see how it's kind of flipped around onto itself, and then it caught, and then it melted. So I'm just going to try and undo this, but it's got to heat up, and then you don't want to use your fingers because it's hot. So while it's still warm, you can take something. I've taken a paper towel or a cardboard. I just don't have a piece of cardboard. So I'm just coming in with the bottom of this and pop it off. It's going to be warm. So while it's hot is when you can flatten it down. And look how small it got. It got tiny, tiny, which is cool. But that's how you can use them with your heat gun, which is pretty cool. You just have to kind of be patient. And I definitely like having something kind of holding it down. And a paper towel, or not paper towel, I keep saying paper towel. A piece of cardboard helps to flatten it, but you know, I just used the bottom of that and it worked just fine. Going back to these guys now, we're going to pop these in the oven at 350 and for my oven for 2 minutes, but it's anywhere between 300 and 350 is what the package directions say, and anywhere between 3 and 5, or I think it said 2 to 5 minutes. So it depends on your oven. If you want it to go a little slower and a little more carefully, I'm going to move this guy over. Move this guy over. You'll have to judge it. Do like a corner piece just to see what works best for your oven. But that's what I found for mine. All right, so here they are. Look how much they shrunk down. Remember how close they were to each other? and now they're all separate out. So just kind of pop them off. They're still a tiny bit warm, and I did take it out of the actual tray because tinfoil does cool off faster than anything else. I'm just releasing them here. And now I don't have to worry about them bubbling and warping and any of that mess. This is garbage now. So the glittery ones I had on there, those Nuvo markers, are kind of, I don't know, they're wiping off a little bit. I can see that, but I love the look of them, and I still would use them again, but you have to seal it. So I'm going to come in with this acrylic sealer finisher. I'm not going to do this on camera because it's going to stink up my house. So I moved this just to a sheet of white cardstock that I don't care about. Actually, it's on the back side of some really crappy paper that I don't even care about. And then I can just throw it away. So I'm going to take this outside, spray this down, let them seal, and then we're going to cut up our inchies and get going. So I just got to let this dry. Sorry about this little hint of light that's popping in on here. The light's just streaming through really on this one spot behind me. It's getting in the camera. So while this finishes drying, I believe I'm going to move this over. And heads up, I did not use the giant one because I think it's just going to be too big. So I did remove that. There's one piece that I did get out of there. All right, so coming back, it's not 100%, but it's dry enough. So I'm just going to come in with my guillotine and move it to the other side. I really would not suggest using a paper trimmer because you're going to just slice right through, or you're going to tear the paper because it's kind of wet, and it's a lot for a little paper trimmer to try and handle. So guillotine is best for this. All right, so now that you've got that, I'm actually going to make these 1.5 by 1.5 because I've got some pieces that are going to be kind of large, and if I try to stick this on a 1 inch by 1 inch, just to show you, because we've got some yuck pieces over here. I'm just going to trim this off. And I kind of want to do it for myself. I want to see what the difference would be if I did a 1 incher. So this is a true inchy. And taking a look, it kind of works, but it's a little bit, in some of these bigger ones that I have, you really wouldn't see any of the fun stuff that I did behind there. Let's do 1.5 by 1.5. Let's check that size out. That's a good size. It's not quite as big as the other one, so 1.5 by 1.5. So here's the true inchy, and I'm going to go a 1.5. It's amazing what that extra 1/2 inch will do in terms of giving you just that much more room. It's kind of cool. So that's what we're going to get out of here. We're going to get as many 1.5s by 1.5s as we can out of this piece of paper. So I got 11. When I stopped doing the 1.5, I actually went down to 1 1/4 and 1 1/4, and it worked well. So for the larger ones is where I'm going to put these guys. That's where these guys are going to rest. Now, to glue everything down, make sure everything's stuck down nice and beautiful, I'm going to go back to my general, this is my go-to glue right now. It is an all-purpose universal glue from Super Tight Adhesive. The stuff is fantastic. It has got really low chemicals and solvents in it, so it's a lot more kid-friendly and just safe. And there is a coupon code down below where you can get yourself some of this, and it's 10% off. So don't go down there and check. And the stuff is even cheaper than the stuff that you'd find at the other stores. Even with their 40% off coupons, the stuff is even a better deal. So make sure you go check that out. This one is the one that dries nice and fast. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my larger ones and I'm going to place them on the larger sections of my, well, now they're 1.5 inches. Whatever you want to call that. These are still somewhat drying. They're going to get there. Now, because this is going to kind of stick off, I'm just going to put this in the middle. And I got to go back to my glue jar because I don't want to run out of glue. So this is going to go right here, just like that. Just stick it on down. Careful, because again, this is still somewhat wet. Usually I would let these sit for a little bit longer, but I'm being impatient. So I don't feel like waiting anymore. And so little dab of glue. Stick it on. For most of these, I'm just going to be putting them right in the center. Now, for the rest of these, they're all nice and small, and I am just going to place them right smack in the center here and not worry about it. A few of them got kind of warped. That's fine. It just gives it character. So this is all part of an embellishment swap that I do, where we're supposed to create embellishments. We create 10 embellishments, because there's 10 of us in the group. We actually mail off 9, so I will keep 2 of these. And so hopefully I have enough. That one's actually sticking to the paper. And we mail them off. We do 1 a month, and then at the end of 3 months we mail them all off, and then we get them back. And I've had some videos of my embellishment swaps, and they're fun to see what people come up with. Mine is a very mixed media version, but sometimes my embellishments have been just handmade flowers. Sometimes they've been like bottle cap arts. I tend to go kind of all over the place with mine. So it's fun to see what people do. And then I get all these cool embellishments come back that I have all kinds of fun with. I have just the right amount of embellishments to stick on these. So we're definitely making the thing in the middle. Now, here's the cool thing. If I wanted to, I could have left this as 2 separate embellishments. I could have left the little houses as 1 embellishment, and I could have left the Inchies as a 2nd embellishment. I just happened to combine them, because that's what I did for the ATCs, and so that's where the inspiration came from. These Inchies is what I created for those ATCs. So I'm just kind of following suit with that. And then I got my little baby one. It's going to fit right here in the center. I'm going to stick this right here, right there. Boom. A little something. Absolutely love these. And there is no right or wrong way to do this. You know, the background is so cool because it's just a mix of whatever you want to do with it. There's no, like, it has to be perfect. If it's messy, that's great. What if you didn't want to do the little houses? You could stick a button in the middle of them. You could leave them plain. You could stick a sticker on the top of that. You could do a gem in the middle of there. There's so many fun ways that you can add and do this kind of concept with these Inchies. So that's just kind of, it's just cool. It's all kinds of fun. So thanks so much for stopping by and checking out my fun, not really Inchies, not really Twinchies, my mini works of art, my mixed media mini art, square art with the graphics and all kinds of other fun companies. So the links are down below for all those. Thanks for stopping by again, and please subscribe. Bye-bye.